Hello, friends and family, and my church back home, First McAllen. My name is Gabby. I have been in South Korea for almost a year now, and I wanted to record this video, give you guys a summary, I suppose. I'm not entirely sure how I'll summarize an entire year, but I'm going to try and keep it concise and also tell you about the plans for my next year. So let's get started. Okay. So we're gonna rewind and try to answer that big question of why South Korea? What's the big deal? What's going on with that? Um, it would have been about 2010 when I was 14 years old, and I found Korean music for the first time, and listening to the language, watching people dancing and stuff. It was like a simple interest. I wanted to listen to the music. But it really quickly, very, very quickly snowballed into my special interest. I was listening to all of the music. I was watching interviews with the musicians. I started watching Korean dramas and listening to the language regularly, seeing what the food looked like, the culture, and I was in love with this culture and everything. So I taught myself how to read in like 2 days when I was still in high school. And I got saved the summer of my senior year. And then I moved on to college. And that's when God really started working out all these different things about how Korea and the love that I had for it was going to be used for His glory. I went on my first ever missionary trip after I finished my freshman year through an organization called Go Now Missions. I was in South Korea for the first time. The Go Now Missions had never had a trip available to go to Korea before, but I got to meet these really amazing pastors and see the drive that they had and the convictions and the goals that they had for their newly born ministry. It was still quite new. And this summer after that, I was the only college student that returned, and it was a new team. And that I think they saw how serious and committed I was to everything that they were trying to do. This summer after that, I couldn't go to Korea, but we brought Koreans to us. So First McAllen actually got to take care of and house for 6 weeks. It was 6 weeks with two Korean girls that were also college students. So Honey and Joy, sweet, sweet, love them. They were kind of like sisters to me, and they lived in my house, and we took them to San Antonio to see the Alamo, and they were here for VBS and Smack Camp and lots of different projects that our church does over the summer. They were able to help out with the Sparrow's Nest. When I finished college, I didn't know exactly how I was going to get back to Korea, but I knew somewhere along the line I was going to continue to try and keep this connection that I had with these pastors here and the ministry that they had here. So I did a year and a half as a missionary intern at UTRGV with the BSM, and COVID-19 and the coronavirus and everything shut down. And then when I finished my internship, I took a year of rest and healing and really prayed about what God would have for me for my future. And I messaged my Korean pastor again, and I told him, I have no plans and no other commitments, and I am praying for what God would have for me. Do you have any use for me, or do you know of anyone that has any use for me? And he messaged back, yes. And now I'm finishing my first year here. So I'm going to tell you about all the things that I've been doing. You're going to see so many different little awkward corners of my apartment, but I live at TCIS. TCIS is Daejeon Christian International School. Even though it is a Christian school, not all of the students are Christian, so we do have a ministry here. There's a residence program, there's a dorm building. Not all of the students are part of the residence program, but there have been about 60 students that have walked through these halls, and I've gotten to know all of them. little bits at a time, slowly. 60 kids is a lot to get to know. And the first half of my year here, masks were still mandatory pretty much everywhere. And now we don't have to wear the masks anywhere. So I got here pretty much just in time for things to finally start relaxing here. I know back home, masks haven't been like required for quite a while, but it's been like 6 months at the most that we haven't had to wear masks everywhere in Korea. Let's see. So with TCIS and the residence program, I am not a teacher. I am the residence intern. There's a first floor with about 30 kids and 4 people that take care of them. And then there's a third floor with about 30 kids and the 4 people that take care of them. And me, I'm on the second floor and I hop in between there wherever they need me. So there's devotions, there's time when the kids have to be doing homework, there's time when the kids have to be eating dinner, there's time when the kids have to be cleaning up, and then there's time when everyone gets to hang out and be goofy, silly fun. But it's also a time to really model Christ to everyone. So just showing up, having conversations, being vulnerable. It's been I will say, a rough transition. I was homeschooled for like all of my high school life. And then this is different than a regular high school that I'd seen in movies. It's a dorm and it's a Christian school. And so there was a real learning curve for me. A lot of these kids are into sports. I have never been a sports person. I don't have like a competitive bone in my body. I have a strong will, but I don't have a competitive bone in my body. I'm like, oh no, suddenly it's a competition and I really don't want to anymore. But, sorry. A group of people. There's like a family that works on the third floor. They're from South Africa, and I get to worship with them, which is really cool. I get to hang out with the kids doing puzzles and eating food. We've taken the kids to the movies before. We saw Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. What else have we done? We had a game night where I guess it was part of like family night, but we had the security guards at the school turn off all of the lights on the campus, and then teachers and volunteers and staff were dressed in all black so you couldn't see them. And the kids had to essentially play tag. We had these giant water jugs full of water, so they were heavy, but inside of them were like little blinking lights, so they were really visible. And if a kid managed to grab it and take it to like their home base, they would win prizes. So it was a really fun, like, games. Just, I'm rambling. Next thing that I've been doing, my let's see if okay, fine. The camera's gonna point there. I'll sit over here. So, in regards to some of the other ministry work that I've been doing, I've been partnered with a local church. It's a small local church. The pastor's name is Pastor Myung, and his wife, his 2 sons, and their little congregation. I would have English classes and English Bible studies inside of their building. They bought a whiteboard so that I could do drawings and writing the words and things, because if there's a language barrier, visual aid is really important. So I'd pick Bible verses to do with the youth age, like teenagers, and I'd write it on there. We'd all read it together, and then we'd go through, what does that word mean? What does that word mean? And some of them, they knew the words already, and some of them we weren't sure, so then we'd have to go online and double check what the words were, because I didn't always know either. And once we were all on the same page, we'd start drawing and making connections. So what does that mean? What does that look like? Ah, okay. So I have like little stick figures and little images that I kind of just pull out of nowhere. I was always an artsy kid, so I'm really thankful that it came into some sort of use in this avenue. With the English classes that I did with like smaller children, I have 2 girls that come regularly, and we had like English books to practice words and get sort of familiar with the sounds and sort of build up confidence. And somehow along the way, we started doing Bible stories in English. So I went through Exodus because my favorite movie ever is The Prince of Egypt. I love the music, I love the animation, I love the story. It's so good. I get chills every time. I will cry at least twice in the movie. And then I realized I will read Exodus all the way through by myself and take notes so that I can come up with short sentences that summarize what's going to happen. And we're going to watch part of the movie to see the same things happening, because it's not perfectly accurate, but to see the plagues or to see the river and to see Moses and Aaron and the Pharaoh as characters so that there was more visual aid again. And so I would write down on the whiteboard, and then we'd translate words together. And the girls needed a lot more help, so I couldn't do it alone. I have other people from the community that would join in and help me, and they could actually speak fluent Korean because they were Koreans, but then my drawing and words and their help translating and the girls building up their confidence, it was really fruitful by the end. I was able to make jokes and goof off with the girls. What else did we do? Oh, Bible studies with college students. Like, we have the BSM back home in Texas. In Korea, there's something called the BSU. Baptist Student Union over here is a collection of different pastors across the country and the young people that they empower and into doing ministry and missionary trips and all the different stuff that they're trying to create inside of their ministry. It's still, I would say, probably pretty young ministry, but Pastor No has been the head of this, and he's great. He is a visionary, and he has so much ambition, and he also has the commitment to work through and figure out how to do it. So, with the people that I've been working with, I do English Bible studies at a Christian college and seminary in the city that I live in. I live in Daejeon. Daejeon is kind of in the center of the country, and it's one of the smaller cities. It's not like a super big, crazy, loud, fast-paced city. It's a pretty slow, go with the flow kind of place. And in this university that I go to every week, I have a Bible study for about an hour. And not all the people that come to my Bible study are fluent, but they want to practice their English. And I've been using Right Now Media from my church as a resource to prepare my Bible studies with the college students. So they want to practice actually talking. So I will watch the video ahead of time and take notes on it and read all of the discussion questions so that when I get there with them, we read the Bible verses that the video discusses, and then we go through questions that the teacher in the video has prepared. And some of those kids, I say kids, they're around my age. Some of the students are really bold to participate, and some of them are definitely more shy still. But we have really good conversations. Last semester, I went through the Beatitudes from Right Now Media. This past semester, like after Christmas and everyone got back from a pretty long winter break. They had longer winter breaks here, like 2 months. And after we got back this semester, I went through 2 Timothy. And it's about like how Paul is passing the torch on to Timothy, and he's going to be in charge of a really big church, but he's actually kind of like a really young dude. And these are all of the words of wisdom and advice that Paul has for this young man that's about to step into a leadership role. So all these young people in seminary and Christian university, boom, let's unpack this. This is good stuff. And we have meals together sometimes with the BSU. I also got to do like a Christmas retreat with them. We went all the way to Seoul, and we did about 3 days. There was like English camps. People were talking about previous mission trips that they'd gone on. Some of them are going to the States. Some of them went to like the Philippines. And it's just really cool to see a lot of young people from different cities, all willing to gather together and encourage each other, and to have a pastor that like they're excited to talk to and be around and have all of this like ambition. I use the word ambition a lot, but these people dream big and they show up. It's so cool to be a part of it. And I pretend to be like the, what do you call it? When you're in the airports and you've just crossed into a different country, the like immigration officers. So I pretend to be an immigration officer and I speak in English and I'm like, passport, what brings you here? How long will you stay? And like I have to ask them the questions in English so that they can double check that they know how to answer in English. Woo! So fun. I took my role very seriously. What else did we do? I am so thankful for my pastor. Pastor No has really taken care of me, and he'll meet me once a week in Daejeon, and sometimes I go to Seoul and I meet him. And ooh, my future plans tie in very heavily with him. So let's dive into what's going on in the future. It makes me kind of nervous. But I'm moving to Seoul, which is the capital city. It's going to be really big. We're going to be doing many new things, experimental things. We're going to try lots of stuff, and I'm going to put on my big girl pants, and I'm going to be really brave. But I'm honestly, it's a really busy city. It's an expensive city. While I've been here at this school, I haven't. There's been no need to pay rent. They own this building. There's plenty of rooms. There's been a cafeteria that I could eat at, so I didn't have to pay for quite so many meals, not nearly as many meals on my own, but I'm going to lose that. I'm going to be in a church friend's house. She and her younger brother were living in a 2-bedroom apartment in the city. Their family was from the countryside. Her brother is enlisted in the military, so she has a spare room, and she's graciously allowed me to stay. I'm really excited. She's really sweet. She's a few years younger than me. Her name is Dasol. If you want to pray for Dasol, I keep praying for Dasol. She has a cat. She dances professionally. She's really, really sweet. And I'm looking forward to living with her because she's actually Korean. Hopefully my language skills will really like drastically grow and improve. It's good. If God has opened the door, God will provide the means. I am going to be doing more college ministries. I might be visiting multiple different campuses. We're not entirely sure. But the rules and regulations that they have in this country about stuff like that is like if it's not a college if it's not a school that is a Christian school, you're not really allowed to call what you're doing like evangelism. So if I go to these campuses, I have to just make friends with people. And if we're going out to eat or going to catch a coffee later or just practicing English together, I'll do free English conversation. So many people want to practice their English, so that's a really good in. But I'll have to talk to people first and see if I can invite them to church later. So there's going to be more steps surrounding all of that. I'm going to be learning how to do English classes online so that I can have more connections with people. Because I'm on a religious visa, I'm not allowed to work. Everything that I do has to be considered volunteer work. And if people ever give me money, it has to be considered a donation. I can't earn my money here. So if I do these English classes online, donations would be made to the church that would be helping to take care of me because it's going to be much more expensive to live in Seoul than it is to live in Daejeon. I'm going to do English classes for children. I'm going to see what other ministries open up because when I first got to the city of Daejeon, several things were not planned, but doors opened up and we just walked through and followed it until we couldn't anymore. So whenever there's a chance for anything, I want it to be available for whatever the Lord puts in front of me. Please keep me in your prayers. I'm at peace, but I'm very painfully aware of how many miracles are going to have to take place to keep me in this country. I will have to be very, very frugal with my money unless the Lord blesses me with something. And every donation that the church makes to me, I'm able to use for like paying my phone bill or buying a winter coat, because it was so cold here. I didn't even have a coat that would remotely keep me warm enough. So you as a congregation, whether you've known me very closely or not, have been an answered prayer. And as I'm moving into this big unknown, into the next year in a bigger city with more expenses, with newer things, with more people, I have full faith that God is going to do what he intends to do. Just last week, I was praying just repeatedly the phrase, God, if you have opened the door, you will provide the means. He'll provide the means. Full faith. Just like scripture says, look at the birds of the air. They do not sow or reap or store away in barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. And are you not much more valuable than they? There's so many things that I didn't anticipate needing, but even before I needed them, they were all ready for me. You as a church in First McAllen have provided so much for me. I'm technically an independent missionary, and I'm a young single woman. And normally that would be a really daunting and scary list of things. Like you guys have been the whole reason that this was possible. I needed a sending organization and a receiving organization for certain documents. I needed fundraising and financial stuff. It's really difficult for me to talk about money, but genuinely, like, you have showed up and provided what I needed multiple times. So as I move forward, taking a deep breath, saying really long prayers about all of the different little things. Every little thing is in God's hands, and nothing is an accident, and God's got this. If you have any questions, ask my mom. I've probably talked to my mom about whatever it is. She's been here already. She knows what's up. I love you all so much, whether I know your face or I know your name or not. I pray for you, and I'm so thankful for all of you. Bye.